He and Puffy wanted Biggie killed. Bottom line. You don't have to believe me. Believe the facts. Here's a man that wanted to leave Bad Boy.
Over the years, there have been dozens of criminal cases that have gone unresolved, and the death of the Notorious B.I.G. happens to be one of them. But now, a new wrinkle in the case has just pointed to Jay Z and Diddy as people of interest in the case. Stay tuned to find out more. During an online discussion hosted by streaming music service Tidal in celebration of the Notorious B.I.G.'s 50th birthday, Sean Diddy Combs expressed his admiration for Jay Z and his musical career. The virtual conversation took place on Twitter Spaces and was moderated by Tidal's chief content officer, Elliot Wilson. In addition to Jay Z, the event featured appearances by Fat Joe and other guests. The discussion touched on the deaths of both the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. Feeling courageous, Jay Z said, "As far as B.I.G. and Pac and pushing forward, that's just me being a student of the game and loving the culture and wanting to push the culture forward." Then the rapper went on to add, "That was the challenge that I was faced with, and that's a void. That's a big void. Others stepped in to fill it as well, not just myself. That's a big void. That's the two pillars right there." Imagine that. Within a year, the Bad Boy record executive for his part then added his views to the whole conversation, celebrating Hov for all of his achievements so far in his career. "Bro, you filled them shoes though. You came in and we definitely give thanks. You definitely came, and I just know how much B.I.G. really looked up to Jay," Diddy shared. He continued, "They looked up to each other. That is crazy you had to step into the shoes of two people. That's all it was those two people. They had things unlocked." Diddy went further, Hov was coming, "But it was like these two cats was just so big, and so to have all of that come on you and have that responsibility to keep this shit fly and keep the art of it going. I think Hov kept the art of it going and take where they was at and take it even higher." Fans are now wondering if Jay Z had plans to replace the Notorious B.I.G. following a statement made by Diddy. This speculation has also led to questions about whether Jay Z and Diddy may have been involved in Biggie's death. Additionally, sources have revealed that Jay Z spoke with the Notorious B.I.G. just an hour before the fatal shooting that claimed his life. The two New York rappers were friends in the early 1990s, and Jay Z has disclosed that he had a phone conversation with the Notorious B.I.G. just hours before he was fatally shot in Los Angeles in 1997. The late Christopher Wallace, also known as Biggie or Biggie Smalls, was caught up in a fierce feud between rappers from the East and West Coasts of the United States during a time when the conflict was escalating into gang-related violence. He is believed to have been fatally shot by a gang member, but there are rumors that someone close to Biggie may have been involved in planning his death. During the launch of his book Decoded at the New York Public Library, Jay spoke about Biggie, saying he wasn't a troublemaker at all. "He was just a funny, charismatic guy. For him to die so senselessly, I spoke to him that night, and he was so happy to be in Los Angeles after the whole East Coast West Coast thing. He felt like he finally was back in Los Angeles and everything was where it was supposed to be. He loved being in Los Angeles, and we see this happen in movies when everything is just fine and we hung up the phone, and 1 hour later, he's no longer with us." Jay Z also revealed that he wrote Decoded, a compilation of autobiographical writing, pictures, and extensively annotated lyrics, in order to clearly explain the messages conveyed by his words to his readers. He stated, "A lot of people listen to music, but they don't really listen to it. You may know the words and you may bop your head to it, but you don't really understand what you're singing." Well, as with most of his other lyrics, fans have also read meaning to these lyrics and also to the friendship between him and Biggie. Now, their theory is that there's a lot more than meets the eyes about their story. In addition to fans, Biggie's former bodyguard has also suggested that Diddy and Jay Z may be responsible for the rapper's death, claiming that he was offered $30,000 to carry out the act. The murders of Biggie and Tupac in drive-by shootings remain unsolved over 2 decades later, but a new documentary titled Last Man Standing reveals new evidence in the case. Kevin E.G. Perry interviewed filmmakers Nick Broomfield and Pam Brooks about their provocative film. In October 2018, former Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight received a 28-year prison sentence for the killing of music executive Terry Carter in a hit-and-run incident. Documentarian Nick Broomfield's 2002 film Biggie and Tupac suggested that Knight played a role in the deaths of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Notorious B.I.G. Wallace, two rival rap icons who were shot and killed in mysterious drive-by incidents within 6 months of each other in the mid-1990s. However, Knight's lengthy imprisonment provided an opportunity to uncover new evidence that could potentially shed light on these two captivating and high-profile unsolved murder cases even decades later. While speaking over a video call, Broomfield said, "People are much more prepared to talk now that Suge Knight's behind bars. A lot of people are coming forward that were, frankly, frightened of getting killed before." According to Broomfield, he was driven to make the new documentary Last Man Standing, Suge Knight and the Murders of Biggie and Tupac by his desire to continue the work of the late LAPD detective Russell Poole. Poole's investigation into Wallace's murder had led him to suspect that corrupt LAPD officers were involved. Poole passed away from a heart attack in 2015 during a meeting at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, where he was still advocating for his theory. That same year, Murder Rap, a documentary based on a book by another former LAPD officer named Greg Kading, presented an alternative narrative that absolved the police of any involvement in the case. I felt Russell Poole had been really shafted, says Broomfield. He had a tragic ending, and then this Bulls program came out. I was horrified when I saw the film. I felt it was belittling the work of Poole, and it made these ridiculous allegations that the LAPD were completely innocent and that this guy called Poochie had done the hit. That hit on Biggie was not a gang hit. Through complete annoyance and out of loyalty to Poole, I decided to do this film. It can be said that there is no affection lost between Broomfield and Kading. When I interviewed the retired detective, who appears in Last Man Standing, he admitted that he now regrets participating in Broomfield's documentary and accuses the director of being intellectually dishonest. He's not interested in facts and evidence, argued Kading. He's interested in patching together a narrative that is not only reckless and irresponsible, but it falsely accuses innocent people of murder. Numerous contradictory theories have emerged due to the fact that no one has ever been prosecuted in connection to the shootings. Broomfield's film Biggie and Tupac presented Poole's theory that Knight may have organized the hit himself since he owed Shakur $10 million in royalties and couldn't repay. Another theory proposed that Sean Puffy Combs, the head of Death Row's East Coast rival Bad Boy Records, to which Wallace was contracted, arranged the shooting and that Knight was also a planned target. The killer of Christopher Biggie Wallace remains a highly disputed topic. On March 9, 1997, 6 months after Tupac Shakur's death, Wallace was shot 4 times by an unknown attacker while leaving a party at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. The shooter used a 9mm pistol and drove a Chevrolet Impala, indicating that it was likely a professional hit. Wallace, who was just 24 years old, was declared dead at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center within hours. I don't believe his theory for a second, says Broomfield, who thinks Swan's testimony is not genuine. She has a long history of false names and false testimonies. She's a completely uncredible witness, in Greg Kading's own words, so that's why his theory has never been tested in court. He didn't really have a witness, so that's not a sustainable theory, but I think it was enough to put Valletta Wallace off from pursuing her case. His job was to come up with a theory that was going to get the LAPD off the hook for a $500 million lawsuit, which he did rather effectively, said Broomfield. But just because he came up with a very plausible theory about Tupac doesn't give any credibility to this paper-thin hodgepodge of a theory about Biggie, which is actually the crucial one. Of course, Tupac's murder is a tragedy, but the Biggie killing raises enormous alarm bells about institutional corruption, the malfunctioning of justice, and an overt cover-up on the part of the LAPD. While both murders are tragedies, the death of Biggie raises concerns about possible institutional corruption, as many of the key figures involved are either deceased or serving lengthy prison sentences, making it unlikely that the full truth behind their deaths will ever be definitively established in a court of law. That won't stop the already ongoing search for answers. It's about closure, basically, says Brooks. The police is so wicked, and that seems like it's not going to change. It was really crucial how Suge Knight crewed up with the LAPD, and that just shows you how low life they are for a little bit of change. They make good money, but it just shows you how it's about control. It's all about control. Well, from the looks of things, it seems like Diddy and Jay Z may have kicked off the plans. Let's see what the fans think. One fan wrote, "I believe it. Diddy been eating off of Biggie his whole adult life. I heard it was a setup too. The real Diddy here." They also said Kim Porter had a tell-all book. That's why she mysteriously died. She walked in on Diddy and a man in the beginning years of their relationship. Another added, "Sue, I get Diddy really did approach him, but I will say this. The reasoning for Diddy wanting Big gone is something that has been floated around for a while and to believe because in one of those Biggie movies, Doc's Diddy slips up and alludes to it. Just know Big was Puff's sacrifice."